So let's get to the interviews then. Generally, what are the things that get tested in a consulting interview? Or what is a consulting company looking for in a consulting interview?
I think based on all that we've discussed so far, so they have the core capabilities, so analytical skills, the way you think, how you structure a problem, etc. So those are the core skills. And then you have, again, emotional intelligence, which might be a little bit more subjective when it comes to how does it get tested in the interview. And then, of course, communication. How do you present yourself? How do you talk? Those kind of things. I think those are the 3 key elements, I would say.
Right. And I've heard that most consulting companies use case interviews.
Yes,
right?
That's correct. You have behavioral and case.
Right. So can you talk a little bit about the case interview? What is a case interview, and then how do you prepare for it?
So remember earlier on we talked about the case challenge. It is essentially solving a problem like that in a span of 20 minutes. If you're a business analyst, for example. Essentially, it's a simplified case in order to test how you think and how you communicate as you think through the problem, and how do you behave and act under stress. That's, in a nutshell, what a case interview is. You solve a problem that is being given by the person. You typically ask questions during the case so that the interviewer reveal more information for you to help you solve the case.
Yeah, so do you have any tips on how a candidate can do well on a case interview?
Practice. That's the biggest thing to do as you go through the process. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be uncomfortable at the beginning because you'll be asking your friend to give you a case, and then you have to act as if he's the interviewer and try to break down the case. But practice. There are a lot of sample case interview questions.
Can you name some resources which might be useful?
Off the top of my head, I think most consulting websites have their little cases on their websites. I think...
So like you mean the company websites?
The company websites itself. You can go to your school. If you're still in school, generally speaking, you have a consulting club. And if you have a consulting club, they typically have case packets. If not, you can go to your library and maybe get access to other schools' case packets.
Okay. Are there any books which people generally tend to look at?
I think that there are examples on how you structure a case question or answer a case question on the Vault Guide, but I'm not too sure about that. I think that was a few years ago. But I can provide you with
we can look it up and we can include it in the show notes.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Alright, so one is just the preparation for the case interview itself, and as you said, practice. Is there a good number of cases? And I'm sure it varies a lot, but what is the typical number you've seen people do?
Maybe 20. 20 to 30. You want to have enough case practice such that when you think through a problem, you very quickly can think of what relevant framework to use and how to break the problem down to solve it. But you don't want to have so many practices, so much so that when you're given a case and you're trying to solve the case, it becomes so sterile, the way you communicate it.
So you want it to be natural.
You still have to have that natural element of it.
Okay. So you got your practice done, you know how to solve a case. How can you actually do well during the interview? I'm sure solving the case is like 80% of it. But as you said, like maybe 10 minutes earlier, that ask questions, try and understand what is it that the interviewer is asking you. Anything else that you can do?
Yeah, well, I mean, the case is pretty important, but it might not be 80% important because generally speaking, you still have behavioral interviews along with case. You also have different opportunity to socialize with the people. So I would say most consulting firms, once you have gone through the final round, etc., you might have coffee chats, you might have a buddy that you talk to, you might have dinners with the managers or the partners. Take up those opportunities and start networking with them, because you would also want, as they interview you, you would also want to interview them. And this is a great opportunity to actually know if there's a fit with the company's culture and will you thrive in that environment. So take up all this opportunity, talk to as many people as you can. One of the things I would say is if you make a good impression during dinner, etc., the partners might pass along a good word about, you know, Sonali that he has met over penne dinner or whatever it is.
Okay. Yeah, so taking advantage of all of those informal conversations can actually go a long way.
Yes.
And helping you get through. Okay, all right.